At our 70-plus person family reunion, everyone got custom hoodies with their names. I got a paper plate with a message. Since you chose not to fund $12,000 for your sister's Paris photo shoot, please return all past family gifts since 2010. Mom said, "Family means sacrifice." I didn't reply. I just quietly revealed one file they thought was erased. It wasn't, and left a box on their porch labeled "Returned." Hi Reddit, throwaway account for obvious reasons. I honestly don't know what I'm feeling anymore. Rage? Disappointment? Relief? Probably all of it at once. I'm a 33-year-old software engineer, single, no kids, living fairly comfortably. My sister, Camille, is 28 and an aspiring luxury lifestyle influencer. She's been chasing that dream for the past 6 years, and my parents are her biggest cheerleaders. Anyway, this happened last weekend at our massive family reunion. 70-something people flew in from all over, cousins, second cousins, uncles, kids I didn't even recognize. Everyone was given a customized hoodie with their names embroidered on the chest and a cheesy little family crest on the back. Kind of cute, honestly. Except, when I reached the table where they were being handed out, my cousin, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, handed me a paper plate with my name scrawled in Sharpie. Taped to it was a folded note. I thought it was a joke at first, like a dumb family prank. But the note read, "Since you chose not to support Camille's Paris opportunity, please return all past gifts you've received from the family since 2010. Family means sacrifice. Yours hasn't gone unnoticed. Mom." I read it 3 times. Everyone else was already taking group photos in their new hoodies. Camille was at the center, naturally, flashing peace signs in a white hoodie with La Vie Estate Belle written under her name. For context, a month before this, my mom called asking if I'd contribute $12,000 toward a Paris photo shoot and branding experience for Camille. According to her, this was a critical moment in Camille's career, and she needed this to finally break into 6-figure sponsorships. I asked what she meant by contribute, and she straight up said, "Just pay the whole amount. You're doing well, aren't you?" I said no. I didn't insult Camille, didn't rant. Just told her I wouldn't be paying for something that had no return and wasn't my responsibility. My mom got quiet, then icy. I should have known this reunion would be different. Back to the event, I looked around. A few people had clearly noticed the plate. My aunt looked away when I caught her eye. Camille was thriving in the spotlight. Mom was chatting like nothing had happened. I didn't make a scene, didn't yell or confront. I just quietly walked back to my rental car and drove to my hotel. But I didn't go to bed. Instead, I opened an old Dropbox folder they thought was deleted years ago. One file in particular, labeled 2017 Fund Disbursement XLS, hit differently now. They'd forgotten I helped Dad digitize the family trust paperwork when Grandpa passed. Apparently they thought I deleted everything after emailing the summaries out. I didn't. And now, things are going to change. In 2017, after my grandfather passed away, there was a bunch of scrambling over the family trust. My dad isn't tech-savvy at all, and since I was the computer guy, they asked me to scan and organize all the legal documents, banking stuff, handwritten notes, everything. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I uploaded everything into a cloud folder and shared a summary spreadsheet with my dad and uncles. Later, I was told to delete the original files since the paper copies were enough. I didn't. I just removed the shared access. I never really trusted how casually they handled something that big. So I kept a full backup just in case. That spreadsheet, it had every disbursement made from the family fund since 2005. $22,000 for Camille's fashion launch in 2018 never happened. $9,500 for emergency rent support for her after she was evicted in 2019. $4,000 for a Bali retreat she said was therapeutic. $6,000 for a camera and lighting setup in 2021. The list went on. In total, $74,300 to Camille alone. Compare that to mine, $0. Not even when I was laid off briefly in 2020. Not even when I offered to pay out of pocket for Grandpa's grave cleaning and upkeep. I was told to leave it to the family fund. That never happened. Wanna guess who controls the trust fund? My dad. And guess who's going to be audited? Probably not just him. I took the spreadsheet and paired it with PDFs of all the receipts I scanned back then. Plane tickets, Venmo screenshots, bank wires, all labeled and timestamped. Then I created a zip folder named Transparency_2025. Most of it was backed by original receipts, scan checks, and transfer records. The screenshots were just supporting proof. The next morning, I quietly dropped off a box on my parents' porch on my way to the airport. Inside, the original hoodie I received at the 2015 reunion. Some old photo albums they gave me. Random birthday cards from over the years. A printout of the note taped to that paper plate. And a USB stick labeled, "Returned." That afternoon, I sent a copy of the folder to our family attorney. Technically still on retainer from Grandpa's estate. I haven't said a word to any of them since. But something tells me Camille's Paris plans are about to hit a pretty inconvenient detour. 3 days after I dropped the USB off, I got a missed call from my mother. Then 5 more. Then a text from Camille that just said, "WTF did you do?" I ignored all of them. I figured if anyone had something legitimate to say, they'd go through the attorney. And sure enough, he called me that evening. Apparently my dad and uncle had informally agreed to use the money to help younger members of the family achieve long-term success. He sounded stunned. Told me he had no idea the trust was being used this way. He was just a passive name on paper. Apparently my dad and uncle had informally agreed to use the money to help younger members of the family achieve long-term success. My uncle signed off on almost every disbursement. They framed it as investing in potential. But somehow that only ever meant Camille, not anyone else. He said he was legally obligated to inform the rest of the family now that funds were being used outside the original scope of the trust. He clarified that while it was highly unethical, it wasn't criminal. Unless someone falsified documents or lied on tax filings, it was a family matter. I asked him one question: is there anything in that paperwork that limits access to just one person? He sighed and said, "No, that's the problem. It wasn't written to protect anyone." Turns out, the trust was originally set up by my grandfather to help all grandchildren start their lives. College tuition, home down payments, small business help. It was never meant to be a piggy bank for someone chasing Instagram clout. But Camille got there first, and she had mom and dad wrapped around her carefully manicured finger. The next family-wide Zoom call was scheduled 2 days later. I didn't want to attend, but curiosity got the better of me. And boy, I'm glad I logged on. It was chaos. Camille was crying. Not ugly crying. Influencer crying. Glossy eyes, good lighting, blaming online harassment, and internalized jealousy for everything. She called me emotionally unstable and claimed I was trying to ruin her livelihood. My dad told everyone I had violated the family's privacy and that money shouldn't come between blood. Then one of my cousins, quiet, doesn't say much, unmuted and asked, "Where was this energy when I asked for help with my med school tuition? You said the fund was drained." Another cousin chimed in, "You told my mom there was no money left for the kitchen repairs after that storm. Everyone just assumed the fund had dried up. The books were never open, and no one wanted to be the one to question it." Then my aunt, "You asked me to co-sign a loan with Camille last year. You never said she'd already received 70 grand from the family trust." It unraveled fast after that. The attorney stepped in, calmly laid out the facts, numbers, dates, transfers. He mentioned that the current custodians of the trust, my dad and uncle, would need to step down pending review. And then Mom, in the most chilling voice I've ever heard her use, she said, "This family used to know how to keep its secrets. You were never supposed to see that file." I didn't reply. I just clicked, leave meeting. I expected radio silence, or maybe a few angry messages. What I got instead was something I didn't expect at all. A voice memo from my youngest cousin, 17 years old. Never really talked much before. She said, "Thank you. I've watched them give everything to Camille and ignore the rest of us like we don't matter. You're the first person who didn't pretend it was okay. Thank you." I sat with that for a while. Then I opened the final folder in the Dropbox. The one labeled Recordings. There was an audio file inside I forgot existed. A clipped voice memo I'd recorded in 2021 when Dad accidentally butt-dialed me during a conversation. Started with, "Even if he finds out, what's he gonna do? He never fights back. He's too proud to make noise." That was Dad, talking about me, laughing. I dragged the file into a new email, typed in our family group thread. No caption, just the subject line. This was me choosing not to make noise. I hit send. After sending that audio clip to the family thread, I went quiet again. I turned off notifications, silenced group chats, and took a few days off work, just to breathe. The messages that piled up over the next 48 hours were a mix of support, rage, guilt, and damage control. Camille sent me a wall of text about how I destroyed her shot at a campaign with a Paris skincare brand. Dad sent a generic apology email that ended with, "I hope you can understand we did what we thought was best." Mom, radio silence. But others started reaching out privately. Cousins I barely talked to. Even a few aunts and uncles who had once laughed along when Camille mocked my boring tech job. One cousin told me he'd been denied help for his startup. Another shared that she'd dropped out of school because they said the fund was for essentials only. Turns out, the box I left on their porch was only symbolic. The real return was the truth. The trust attorney followed up the next week. My uncle had agreed to step down quietly. My dad resisted at first but eventually relented under family pressure. The fund is now temporarily frozen pending a full audit. Once it's reopened, it'll be managed by a third-party advisor and distributed fairly among the grandkids, as it was meant to be. And Camille? She went quiet online for about a week, then posted a vague Instagram caption about haters and family betrayal, but the sparkle was gone. The comments were polite but sparse. Her engagement tanked. Apparently, she's trying to crowdfund her Paris shoot now. Last I checked, $318 raised. I didn't donate, but the biggest surprise came last night, when I got a call from my mom. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was short. "I may not agree with how you handled it, but you were right about the favoritism. I just wish you didn't feel like you had to go to war with us to be seen." That one stung, because she was wrong. I never wanted a war. I just wanted to be treated like I was part of the family. It's been a month now. The family group chat has gone quiet, with only the occasional forwarded meme or birthday reminder. Camille hasn't spoken to me. My dad sends the occasional "hope you're well." My mom is still figuring out how to look me in the eye when we FaceTime. But I did get something last week. A package. No return address. Inside, a plain black hoodie with my name embroidered on it in clean white thread. No note. No family crest. Just a name. Mine. I didn't wear it. I folded it up and placed it in the same box I left on their porch. But this time, I added something else. A thumb drive with a PDF titled, "Updated Family Trust Proposal, 2025 Forward Plan." It outlines how the fund could be structured going forward. Equal caps per grandchild. A rotating review board of 3 unrelated financial advisors. Mandatory reporting every 6 months. Transparent voting for any exceptions. It's detailed, thorough, and fair. I sent digital copies to every cousin. Some replied. Some didn't. That's fine. I didn't do it for applause. I did it because I remembered something Grandpa once told me. If you let them take from you without fighting back, they'll call it love. But if you protect yourself, they'll call it betrayal. Do it anyway. This wasn't about revenge. It was about finally returning everything I was never given: respect, recognition, and the right to draw the line. And now they know I don't need to be loud to be heard. Not anymore.